So we're down in the montane ecoregion here in Banff National Park over by Cascade Ponds, and north of here is the Cascade Valley, which goes up to the Panther River, and where we have some bison. And see, there was always bison in Banff National Park down in the low montane ecoregion here, and then out onto the Canadian plains, the northwestern plains. But bison were eradicated from the northwestern plains in the park here by about the mid 1870s. It's no accident that that's the same time that Indigenous people out on the plains signed treaties with the Crown, because the bison economy had ended. And then what we had in Banff National Park starting in 1895, using bison that were descendants of a herd from the United States called the Pablo herd, we reintroduced bison. But they were in a paddock at the base of Cascade Mountain, and you could drive in there and, tour around and check out the bison. There's places that still have this, national parks in Alberta, like Elk Island National Park in Waterton. But that was removed from Banff in 1996, just because it was inconsistent with the park mandate to have all the parts and pieces and processes of an ecosystem functioning as they should. So those bison were taken out to Elk Island, and then we had no bison in Banff National Park. And then a forward-thinking park warden at the time, younger fellow, Karsten Hoyer, he decided to make it his mission during his career to reintroduce bison to Banff National Park. And it wasn't easy. People said, well, what if the bison escaped and got out onto, left the park, went eastward out into the ranch lands and take down fences, and people's horses and cattle escape? And nobody really knew, but Karsten, he kept going with the program. It was called Bison Belong, and they made the argument that bison are kind of an animal that's needed on the landscape, that we bring back bison and that'll bring other things back into balance. And they did that in 2018. 31 animals were reintroduced. They're flown in little shipping containers underneath a helicopter up into the Panther Valley, north of us here by about 40 kilometers. And 31 animals released that year. They started having calves the next year, little reds they're called. Here's some here. And now in 2022, this year, it was 18 calves that were born, and it's estimated that there's over 90 animals in the herd now. A really successful program. The way they keep the bison in the park is through prescribed burns. Here's the Panther Valley, and you can see on this slide that the Park Service burns certain areas to create lush grass for the bison to graze on. So a really successful program, and it's not inconceivable that those bison should start making their way down this way at some point. Maybe we'll have to beef up the fencing along the highway. But great to have bison back in Banff National Park, and with bison back, that means that we have all the mammals that we started with here when the park was created, with the exception now more recently of caribou. That's another story.